Sometimes a lifetime of wisdom sits quietly behind a closed door, waiting for the right moment to come forward. Today, that door finally opens. I'm 99 years old, and for more than 60 years, I kept a silence that protected the truth about wealth, who builds it, who wastes it, and why most people never get close to it. I've watched entire generations work themselves to exhaustion, doing everything they were taught to do, while people half their age quietly built fortunes that seemed to appear from nowhere. And the most painful part is this: it was never about talent, luck, or being born into privilege. It was about understanding something the rest of the world never learned. For decades, I sat inside boardrooms with men and women whose names filled the front pages of financial history. Billionaires the world talks about, and billionaires the world never knew existed. I watched extraordinary wealth rise in ways few could imagine, and I watched it vanish in a single disastrous decision. After all those years observing the patterns, the wins, and the collapses, I discovered 5 investments that quietly shape the lives of the wealthy while everyone else stays trapped in a system designed to keep them running in circles. These investments have nothing to do with what Wall Street sells you. They aren't stocks, bonds, real estate deals, or the latest shiny cryptocurrency. They're the hidden engines, quiet, overlooked, and unbelievably powerful. These were the forces that carried me from being a young lawyer in Omaha to holding a net worth of $2.5 billion. They built more wealth for me than Berkshire Hathaway ever did, and yet almost no one teaches them, mentions them, or even realizes they exist. There's a reason for that. No advisor can charge you a fee for any of them. And here's why I'm breaking this silence now. If you're listening in 2025, heading into 2026, you're approaching one of the most uncertain economic periods in living memory. The old playbook doesn't work anymore. The world you grew up preparing for has disappeared, and most people are still trying to navigate it with tools that no longer apply. These 5 investments have become more essential than at any other moment in modern history. By the time this entire message reaches its end, you'll understand why so many people work until they're 70 and still die broke. You'll understand how to step off that path and build something different, something stable, something lasting, something life-changing. But first, you need to understand one thing people always get wrong about me. Before we explore the first investment, you need to know how my story really began, because everything that follows depends on it. Before I reveal those 5 investments, there's something important you need to know about my story. Something people often misunderstand. I didn't grow up surrounded by wealth. I didn't step into a ready-made fortune or inherit anything that would give me a head start. I wasn't a prodigy who built a tech empire in a garage. I began the same way many people do, working hard, earning modestly, and trying to keep a family afloat. I was a young lawyer in Omaha, Nebraska, practicing law because it paid the bills, not because it led to extraordinary wealth. In those early years, my life looked like everyone else's. I had responsibilities, obligations, and no obvious path toward riches. But something shifted in my 30s, quietly, almost accidentally. I remember sitting across the desk from a client, a decent businessman, who kept asking me the same questions again and again. "Charlie, what should I buy? What's hot right now? What's the quickest way to get rich?" He wanted tips, shortcuts, secret formulas. And as he bombarded me with those questions, I realized he was hunting for the wrong things entirely. His thinking was flawed before he even made his first investment. That moment changed everything for me. The truly wealthy weren't following the advice you hear in business schools. They weren't glued to CNBC. They weren't chasing every trend their brokers handed them. They were doing something else, something deeper, quieter, and far more powerful. Wall Street survives by keeping people focused on things it can charge fees for. Stocks, mutual funds, financial products, shiny schemes packaged in complicated language. But the wealthiest people I met weren't dependent on those systems. They built their fortunes through investments that could compound without permission, without fees, without limits. I realized then that if I wanted freedom, not just money, but genuine independence, I had to stop thinking like a gambler and start thinking like a builder. These investments I eventually discovered weren't quick wins. They demanded patience, discipline, and persistence, but they produced results that changed my life in ways no traditional financial strategy ever could. If you begin applying these 5 investments now, not tomorrow, not next week, but right now, by the time 2026 arrives, your entire life can feel different. Not just financially, but emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. You'll have choices. You'll have stability. You'll have the ability to shape your own future rather than react to it. But none of this makes sense until you understand the first investment, the one that quietly multiplied my wealth more than almost anything else. The first investment that changed my life didn't look like an investment at all. It didn't involve a business, a stock, or any financial instrument. It was something far quieter, something most people overlook because it doesn't feel like a shortcut. But it was the foundation of everything that came later. I call it building my knowledge infrastructure, and it became the single most reliable engine of wealth I ever discovered. When I was in my 20s at Harvard Law School, I wasn't the smartest student in the room. I knew that. Plenty of people around me had sharper minds, faster memories, better test scores. But I made a decision that would shape the rest of my life. If I couldn't be the smartest, I would become the most knowledgeable. That didn't come from natural talent. It came from deliberate effort. I realized early that intelligence is something you're born with, but knowledge is something you can build brick by brick. So I began buying books. Every kind of book I could find. Not just law or business, but psychology, physics, biology, mathematics, philosophy, engineering, history, anthropology. If it helped me understand how the world worked, I wanted to read it. And I made a commitment that sounded insane. To nearly everyone around me, I would read 500 pages every single day. Not occasionally, not when it was convenient. Every day. People laughed at me or called it obsessive, but over 70 years, those pages added up. They shaped how I thought, how I noticed patterns, and how I made decisions. Most people read for entertainment or to feel productive. Few read to completely transform how they see the world. That difference became my greatest advantage. This advantage revealed itself in ways nobody could predict. One of the most important came in 1962, when I encountered a small retail company called See's Candies. On paper, it looked overpriced. Every traditional metric said, avoid it. Analysts dismissed it immediately, but I had spent years studying psychology, especially how taste, memory, and emotional associations shape human behavior. I saw something that spreadsheets couldn't detect. See's wasn't just selling chocolate. It was selling lifelong emotional loyalty. That insight helped me convince Warren to buy the company for $25 million. Over time, that single decision produced more than $2 billion in pure profit, not revenue profit. Not because of a spreadsheet, but because of knowledge built across disciplines. One idea, formed from one book, applied at the right moment. That's the power of a knowledge infrastructure. I'll show you exactly how to build your own knowledge system from scratch, and how it can change your life by 2026. By now, you understand why knowledge, not money, not connections, not timing, became the engine behind some of the most profitable decisions of my life. But none of that matters unless you know how to build your own knowledge system in a structured, disciplined way. What I'm about to outline is the same plan I would follow if I were starting from scratch today, and it can fundamentally change your trajectory by 2026 if you commit to it fully. Your first 12 months should be divided into 3 phases. The goal is to build a mental framework that allows you to see what others miss, avoid traps that most people fall into, and make decisions with clarity and confidence. Most people jump around, reading randomly, hoping to stumble into insights. That's not how compounding knowledge works. You must build it layer by layer. Months 1 through 3, this is your foundation. Read 4 specific books in this exact order. Start with Poor Charlie's Almanac, not because it's mine, but because you need a base understanding of mental models before anything else will make sense. Next, read Influence by Robert Cialdini. It will teach you the psychology of persuasion and why the human mind reacts the way it does. After that, read The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. This book explains evolutionary behavior, which influences every financial decision humans make. And finally, read Thinking, Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. This will show you how your brain forms judgments and how to avoid costly thinking errors. Months 4 through 8, now you expand across disciplines. Start with Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari to understand how human behavior repeats across centuries. Then read The Innovator's Dilemma by Clayton Christensen to learn why businesses fail before anyone sees it coming. After that, study Atomic Habits by James Clear so you can implement what you learn instead of letting knowledge gather dust. Finally, choose one scientific field: physics, biology, chemistry, or mathematics, and study it deeply. This isn't about expertise. It's about learning to think in systems and understanding cause and effect at the deepest level. Months 9 through 12, now apply everything to money. Read every one of Warren Buffett's annual shareholder letters from 1977 to the present. Not casually. Study them. Take notes. Understand the reasoning behind every decision. Then choose one industry and become an expert in it. Not at the surface level, but at the depth where you know more than 99% of people in the field. Spend 200 hours learning everything about it. Reports, books, interviews, trade publications. This is where the magic happens. When you combine knowledge across fields, you begin to see opportunities others overlook. One idea, applied with clarity, can create lifelong wealth. I've watched it happen again and again. Next, I'll reveal the second investment, one that can multiply your opportunities faster than money ever could. The next investment is one most people never notice until it's too late. It's not financial, it's not technical, and it doesn't come with charts or projections. Yet it is one of the most powerful compounding forces in a person's life. I call it your reputation compound, and whether you realize it or not, it is either working for you or silently destroying your opportunities. I learned its power the hard way. In 1973, I had the chance to invest in a technology company. The numbers looked excellent. The product was impressive. The market was expanding. Every spreadsheet pointed toward success. But when I met the CEO, something felt wrong. He was charming, articulate, and confident, but there was an undercurrent of dishonesty in the way he talked about his competitors. I noticed it, but I ignored it. The financials tempted me, and I invested $100,000, which was significant money back then. 2 years later, the company collapsed. The CEO had been manipulating the books. I lost the entire investment, but the loss wasn't the lesson. The real lesson was understanding that reputation. Yours and the people you attach yourself to is a compounding asset. Every interaction adds or subtracts from it, and over time, its impact becomes enormous. Money compounds slowly. Reputation compounds quickly. When people trust you, opportunities appear that you never asked for. When people doubt you, even the best opportunities slip through your fingers. Reputation builds through patterns, not promises. Keep your word 10 times, and 10 people trust you. Those 10 tell others, and suddenly 30 trust you without ever meeting you. That's how compounding begins. After a few years, those you've helped start opening doors for you. They recommend you, vouch for you, and share opportunities that never become public. One of those opportunities can multiply your income tenfold. In 1969, a client offered me $500,000 to help structure a deal that was technically legal but completely unethical. It was the kind of money that could change a family's life. I turned it down because it violated my principles. I lost the client, the money, and almost every incentive to stick to my decision. But 3 months later, a young lawyer who witnessed that moment connected me to Warren Buffett. That introduction led to a partnership that lasted 6 decades and created billions in value. One moment of integrity shaped the rest of my life. Reputation is built in the invisible moments, when no one is watching, when you could cut a corner and choose not to, when honesty cost you something. Most people trade their integrity for short-term benefit. The wealthy protect it at all costs. In the next part, I'll show you exactly how to build a reputation that compounds for decades, and how it can open doors you never knew existed. Reputation doesn't grow from grand gestures. It grows from small habits repeated with discipline. Most people destroy their own reputation slowly. One missed promise, one ignored message, one lie told to avoid discomfort. What they don't realize is that every small lapse compounds just as powerfully as honesty does. If you want your reputation to create lifelong opportunity, you must build it intentionally, month by month, action by action. Months 1 through 6, you lay the foundation. This stage is simple but demanding. You must keep every promise you make, no matter how small. If you say you will send an email, you send it. If you say you'll call at 3 p.m., you call at 3 p.m., not 3:10. Every promise kept is a brick in your reputation. Every promise broken removes 10. And if you can't keep a commitment, communicate at least 24 hours in advance, with a clear explanation and a new timeline. Never vanish, never avoid, never hide. People can forgive delays. They never forgive silence. Respond to every message within 24 hours. It doesn't have to be a full solution. Even a short acknowledgement shows reliability. People don't expect instant answers. They expect respect. The foundation of reputation is simple: be the person others can count on. Months 7 through 12, this is when you activate the multiplier effect. Help 3 people achieve something meaningful with no expectation of return. Not superficial help, real help. Introduce them to someone valuable. Share a skill. Solve a problem that cost you time or effort. When you give without asking, people remember you far longer than you think. This is how invisible opportunities begin forming around you. Next, publicly give credit to others for your wins. If you get a promotion, praise your team. If you close a deal, acknowledge the person who paved the way. If you learn something, thank the person who taught you. Generosity with credit costs nothing and builds loyalty that lasts decades. Most people hoard praise. The wealthy give it away freely. And finally, adopt one phrase that will accelerate your reputation: I don't know. Pretending expertise destroys trust. Admitting ignorance builds it. Every time you choose truth over ego, your reputation strengthens. This investment doesn't pay off instantly, but in year 2 or 3, something happens. Someone you helped unexpectedly reaches out with an opportunity. Someone who trusts you recommends you for something you never applied for. Someone warns you about a mistake before it becomes catastrophic. One moment like that can multiply your income tenfold. Your reputation is your silent partner. And if you build it deliberately, it will work for you long after you stop working for yourself. In the next part, you'll discover the third investment, the one that created hundreds of billions in value through relationships, not transactions. Most people think wealth comes from money, timing, or intelligence. But one of the greatest multipliers of my life came from something far more human: relationships. Not casual networking, not handing out business cards, not collecting contacts, but building deep, durable relationships that appreciate the way great assets do. Shallow networks crumble under pressure. Real relationships grow more valuable with every year. People often talk about my partnership with Warren Buffett as if it were inevitable, as if 2 men destined for success simply found each other. That's a myth. When we met in 1959 at a dinner in Omaha, neither of us had any real money. Warren ran a small investment partnership. I was practicing law. Nothing about our circumstances suggested that we were on the edge of building something that would one day reach hundreds of billions in value. What made our relationship powerful wasn't wealth. It was compatibility of values, curiosity, trust, and the willingness to challenge each other. We debated, argued, questioned assumptions, and pushed each other to think more clearly. We didn't flatter each other. We sharpened each other. Our relationship improved our decisions, protected us from mistakes, and created opportunities we could never have built alone. But here's the truth most people miss. The relationship itself wasn't the magic. The magic came from who each of us became individually. A relationship only compounds when both people bring something valuable to it. If you want relationships that elevate your life, you must first become someone worth knowing. Think of your relationships as concentric circles. Circle 1, your inner council. These are the people who tell you the truth when it hurts. People who challenge you, protect you, and see your blind spots. They must be high integrity, high character, and aligned with your values. One strong relationship in this circle can change everything. Circle 2, your brain trust. 10 to 15 people who are experts in areas you want to grow in, not mentors who lecture you, peers who exchange value with you, people you talk to quarterly, sharing insights and learning together. Circle 3, your strategic network. 30 to 50 people doing meaningful work. Leaders in adjacent industries, potential partners, people you genuinely respect. You keep these relationships warm with thoughtful touches a few times per year. Circle 4, your weak ties. 100 to 200 people you've worked with or crossed paths with. They may not be close, but they can become bridges to future opportunities. Circle 5, your audience. People who follow your work even if you've never met them. Some of your greatest opportunities will someday come from this circle. This isn't networking, it's architecture. When you build your relationship portfolio intentionally, you create a system that grows in value even when you're not paying attention. Next, I'll show you exactly how to build and strengthen these circles and how one relationship can change your financial future forever. If you want your relationships to become one of the most powerful investments in your life, you must build them deliberately. Most people let relationships form accidentally. They stay connected to people out of habit, proximity, or convenience. They hold on to connections that drain them, and they avoid reaching out to people who could elevate their thinking. But relationships are like assets. They either appreciate, depreciate, or collapse entirely. What you do in the next 12 months can shape the next 10 years of your life. Months 1 through 3, begin with a ruthless audit. Look at the people closest to you, your circle. 1. Do you have 3 to 5 individuals you trust completely? People who challenge you, support you, and make you think more clearly? If not, that becomes your priority. And just as important, identify the people who drain your energy, cloud your judgment, or encourage your worst habits. You don't need drama. You simply reduce your investment in those relationships. You cannot build a wealthy life with people who pull you backward. Next, make a list of 10 people you admire, but have never reached out to, people whose character, thinking, or work inspires you. Rank them by potential value to your growth, not by fame or status. These people can form your future brain trust. Months 4 through 8, now you build your inner council. Identify 3 people who are stronger than you in areas you need to develop. Discipline, finance, communication, leadership, anything. Provide value before asking for anything in return. Send them something genuinely useful, an article, an introduction, a solution to a problem they mentioned. Do this 3 times with sincerity. After proving value, propose a simple, periodic connection, a monthly meeting or quarterly call framed as mutual benefit, not mentorship. People with strong character dislike one-way relationships. Show them you're a partner, not a burden. Months 9 through 12, this is where compounding begins. Introduce people in your network to each other, not random introductions, strategic ones where both people benefit. Host a small mastermind once every quarter with 6 to 8 high-quality individuals. Create an environment where ideas and opportunities can flow. Document everything you learn from each person. Keep notes. Review them monthly. Your network is not a list. It's a living system that grows when you feed it. Then comes the moment no one expects. A single person from your inner council may invite you into a venture that multiplies your income. Someone in your brain trust might tell you about an opening before it becomes public. Someone in your strategic network might warn you away from a catastrophic mistake. These moments seem random to outsiders, but they are the natural return on a relationship portfolio built with intention. Warren and I didn't create the value of Berkshire Hathaway by working harder than others. We created it by building relationships that sharpened our decisions and expanded our opportunities for decades. Now comes the 4th investment, the one that transformed ordinary careers into extraordinary ones by combining skills in a way most people never consider. The 4th investment is one almost everyone overlooks, yet it may be the fastest path to multiplying your income. People assume success comes from being the best in one field. They chase mastery in a single skill. believing that world-class ability is the only way to stand out. But becoming the absolute best is incredibly difficult, requires decades, and still leaves you vulnerable to disruption. Instead, I learned something far more practical. You don't need to be number one. You only need to be in the top 25% at 3 complementary skills, and the combination will make you irreplaceable. I was never the greatest lawyer. I wasn't the top investor. I wasn't the leading psychologist or the most gifted communicator. But I was rare in being proficient at all 4 simultaneously. That uniqueness made me valuable in ways no single skill ever could. When Warren needed a partner, he didn't need another investor. He already was one. He needed someone who understood how deals worked legally, how people behaved psychologically, and how to communicate complex ideas clearly. My combination of skills made me the right partner at the right time. To build your own skill stack, you need a deliberate plan. Step 1, identify your base skill. This is something you're already in the top 25% at, not what you hope you're good at, what you genuinely are good at today. It might be writing, numbers, sales, design, communication, or people skills. This is the foundation of your stack. Step 2, choose a multiplier skill. Your second skill must multiply the value of the first. If your base skill is writing, adding sales turns you into a copywriter, one of the highest earning writing roles in the world. If you're good at marketing, adding data analysis turns you into a growth strategist. If you're great with people, adding financial literacy can turn you into a high-value fundraiser. Spend 6 to 12 months becoming good, not exceptional, at this second skill. Step 3, add your differentiator skill. This is what makes you one of a kind. It's a skill that almost no one in your field has. For example, copywriting plus psychology makes you a master of persuasion. Marketing plus design makes you a rare creative strategist. Problem solving plus storytelling makes you a standout leader. You don't need to master this skill. You only need to become competent enough that it strengthens the entire stack. This approach has created extraordinary careers. Scott Adams wasn't the best artist, writer, or comedian, but combining all 3 created Dilbert, earning him millions. Tim Ferriss wasn't the best writer, learner, or marketer, but the combination built an empire. Naval Ravikant wasn't the best investor, technologist, or communicator, but the combination built enormous wealth and influence. Your skill stack is your escape from crowded competition. You stop fighting millions of people and instead operate in a category only you occupy. When someone needs what your specific combination provides, you become the only option, and that's when income multiplies. Next comes the 5th investment, the one that turns chaos into opportunity and protects your wealth during crises. The 5th investment is the most powerful of them all, and yet it's the one almost nobody understands. It's not a product, a course, or a strategy pushed by the financial world. It's a system, one that becomes stronger under stress instead of breaking. Most people build fragile lives without realizing it. One job loss, one recession, one medical bill, and everything collapses. Some people build robust systems that can survive shocks but don't benefit from them. But the wealthy build anti-fragile systems, structures that grow stronger during chaos. This single concept allowed me not only to survive 14 recessions, but to become richer during each one. A fragile system shatters when pressure hits. A robust system endures pressure without changing. But an anti-fragile system improves because of pressure. That was my goal, to build a life where downturns, disruptions, and crises didn't threaten me. They strengthened me. I built my anti-fragile system through 4 layers. Layer 1, multiple income streams. I never relied on a single paycheck. I had income from law, from investments, from real estate, from board roles, and later from speaking. If one stream failed, others kept flowing. Most people depend on one source, usually their job, which means a single point of failure. That is fragility. Layer 2, asymmetric upside. I structured every investment so that losses were limited but gains were unlimited. I avoided leverage that could wipe me out. I never risked what I couldn't afford to lose, but I pursued opportunities with massive upside, 10x, 50x, 100x potential. See's Candies was one such investment. Berkshire Hathaway was another. Limited downside, enormous upside. That's asymmetry. Layer 3, the barbell strategy. I placed 80% of my wealth in extremely safe, boring assets, treasury bonds, blue-chip companies, stable real assets. The remaining 20% went into high-risk, high-reward opportunities. This kept me safe while also giving me the chance for explosive growth. Most people make the mistake of placing everything in the middle medium risk, medium reward, and end up vulnerable on both sides. Layer 4, skin in the game. I only invested in things I deeply understood and was personally involved in. This kept me disciplined and prevented reckless decisions. When your reputation and your own money are on the line, you think with clarity. You avoid foolish risks. You stay within your circle of competence. By combining these layers, I built a system that not only withstood economic disasters but thrived during them. When the 2008 financial crisis hit and most people lost half their wealth, my system protected me. My safe assets held steady. My cash reserves were ready. And when fear swept the market, I bought extraordinary companies at enormous discounts. Those investments multiplied over the following years, while others were still trying to recover. This is what anti-fragility looks like in practice. Chaos becomes opportunity. Pressure becomes strength, and crises become turning points instead of endings. Next, I'll show you how to build your own anti-fragile system step by step so you can turn the uncertainty of 2026 into the greatest opportunity of your life. If you want to thrive during uncertainty, not just survive it, you must build your own anti-fragile system with intention. Most people wait until disaster hits before thinking about protections. That's why they panic, collapse, or drain their savings when trouble comes. Anti-fragility requires preparation, not reaction. It means building a structure that can withstand shocks, take advantage of chaos, and grow stronger because of it. What follows is the exact framework I would use if I had to start over today and needed to be fully prepared by 2026. Phase 1, months 1 through 6. Build your safety net. Begin with something simple but life-changing. A 1,000 emergency fund. It doesn't matter how tight your situation is. Sell something, cut expenses, take extra shifts. This small cushion prevents minor problems from becoming life-altering crises. Next, create a second source of income that is different from your main job. It doesn't need to be large. Even $500 per month proves you can generate income outside your primary role. This psychological shift alone is worth more than the money. Finally, learn one skill you can monetize quickly if your main income disappears. It must be a skill capable of earning at least $3,000 per month within 30 days if necessary. This gives you agility, something fragile systems never have. Phase 2, months 7 through 12. Build redundancy. Now expand your income and diversify your assets. Build a second income stream that is structurally different from the first. If your job is active income, make your second stream passive. If your first stream relies on your time, your second should rely on products or asset. Then invest in 3 different asset classes, not 3 stocks. Choose from stocks, real estate, bonds, commodities, or small business ownership. Diversification across asset types protects you from volatility. Also cultivate relationships across different industries and specialties. These relationships become lifelines during economic shift. Someone you know may hire you, partner with you, or tip you off to a critical opportunity. Phase 3, Year 2. Pursue asymmetric upside. Keep 85% of your wealth in safe, resilient assets. Index funds, treasuries, blue-chip companies, your primary residence. These protect you. Then take 15% and pursue high upside opportunities. Start a side business capable of replacing your income. Invest in your education to multiply your earning power. Take a career leap that could double your trajectory. These asymmetric bets can pay off massively when uncertainty hits. The moment of transformation arrives when a crisis strikes. And it will. Recession, disruption, a market correction. Something will test your system. But instead of fear, you'll have stability, options, and the ability to buy opportunities while others are selling out of panic. Chaos becomes the catalyst that accelerates your wealth instead of destroying it. That is the core of anti-fragility. In the next part, I'll show you the real-world example that proved this system works, how one crisis multiplied my fortune while others watched their wealth disappear. The true test of any system isn't how it performs in good times. Anyone can make money when the sun is shining and the markets are soaring. The real measure is what happens when the ground shakes beneath your feet, when fear takes over, when uncertainty hits every corner of the economy, when people panic because they never expected the world to turn upside down. That is where anti-fragility proves its value. And I witnessed this most clearly during the 2008 financial crisis, one of the most devastating economic collapses in modern history. Back then, millions of people watched their retirement accounts fall by nearly half, home values plummeted, jobs disappeared, years of savings evaporated in a matter of months. People who believed they were financially secure discovered their lives had been built on a fragile foundation. One shock was all it took to bring everything down. But my experience was completely different. While most people saw their net worth collapse, mine barely moved. My anti-fragile system, built over decades, held steady. The 80% of my wealth sitting in ultra-safe assets remained intact. Treasury bonds didn't collapse. Durable companies with long histories didn't vanish. My cash reserves, boring as they were, remained untouched. I had positioned myself so that even the worst economic storm couldn't take me under. But what made the difference wasn't just protection. It was opportunity. While fear gripped the market and people rushed to sell, I had liquidity. I had clarity. I had a plan. I used those cash reserves to buy extraordinary companies at extraordinary discounts, businesses I knew would survive and eventually thrive, companies with strong balance sheets, long-term competitive advantages, and leadership I trusted. Because others were panic selling, I could buy them for 50 to 70% below their true value. Those investments multiplied over the following years. While many people spent nearly a decade clawing their way back to where they started, I spent those same years compounding my wealth at accelerated rates. I didn't just survive the recession, I became stronger because of it. That is the essence of anti-fragility, systems that turn stress into growth. This pattern repeated across 14 recessions in my lifetime. Each time, the same thing happened. Fragile systems broke. Robust systems endured. Anti-fragile systems advanced. The storms that drowned others became the winds that pushed me forward. Most people fear uncertainty, but when you build a system designed to grow from it, uncertainty becomes your ally, not your enemy. We're now approaching the final part, the moment where all 5 investments come together and reveal the path forward. Now you understand the heart of each investment, the knowledge infrastructure that multiplies insight, the reputation that compounds silently, the relationships that grow more valuable with time, the skill stack that makes you irreplaceable, and the anti-fragile system that thrives in chaos. These 5 forces shaped my life more than any stock, business deal, or stroke of luck ever could. They carried me from a modest law practice in Omaha to a net worth that surprised even me, and they did it steadily, silently, over decades. These investments require no permission, no degrees, no inheritance, no wealthy connections. Anyone, at any age, in any country, from any starting point, can begin building them today. Most people never do, not because they're incapable, but because they're distracted by the wrong things. They chase shortcuts instead of foundations. They follow trends instead of principles. They look for quick returns instead of compounding returns. But the truth is simple. The world is changing faster than at any point in history. The old economic system is fading. The rules that worked for previous generations no longer apply. If you rely on traditional paths, single-income careers, fragile saving systems, and narrow skill sets, you'll be exposed when the next storm hits, and it will hit. They give you clarity when the noise becomes deafening. They give you opportunities no financial advisor can promise. They give you leverage that no job title can match. They give you control. The wealthy aren't defined by their bank accounts. They're defined by their systems. Systems that survive uncertainty, adapt to change, and turn volatility into advantage. You know the path. If you start today, truly start, with discipline and intention, the next 12 to 24 months can redefine your life. You can build knowledge that sees what others miss, a reputation that opens doors, relationships that elevate your thinking, skills that make you uniquely valuable, and a system that becomes stronger when the world becomes unstable. That is what wealth really is: the ability to remain unshaken while others tremble, the freedom to choose your direction, and the confidence that your life is built on something durable. Everything you need is already in your hands. The next step is yours. The story ends here, but your compounding begins the moment you decide it does.